Hi everybody, I'm Jen with Caketastic Cakes. Thanks for coming to see my live video. And I can see that Gamer, what does it say? Gamer Boy 14 is super excited to see this cake go. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to be making a princess cake, just a generic simple princess cake. And it's going to be pretty quick and easy. So this is one of those cakes that, again, not a lot of skill, as I say in some of my videos, if you've seen any of them. And if you haven't, then you should take a look. And yeah, so some of these cakes, like I said, don't need a lot of skill. You just need to be able to cover it, cover a cake with fondant, and then, a few little basic things, but I'll show you. So yes, we're gonna get started. Now, I prepped my cake already. It's in the fridge, it's chilled, and it's ready to go. So I'm going to take it out and then cover it with this light pink fondant that I've been working right here, this big old lump. And then put it back in the fridge so we can start making some of the little decorations that are going to go along with it.
It's just the two of us.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate that. Naughty's not even here? What the heck?
No, I'll call her.
Like, this would mean a whole lot more to me. All right, so I got my cake out, and I am going to prepare to cover it with fondant. And I've been asked before why I sometimes say fondant, which slips out a lot. And I guess because I kind of more on the self-taught side of things. So I read it and pronounced it incorrectly. But in order to prep my cake before I cover it, I've got it iced. It's buttercream, American buttercream, so it's nice and hard. And I can manhandle this pretty comfortably. I do have it set back on my cake plate a little bit because I'm going to put the child's name on the front. I don't know if I'm going to show you that or not because it's not going to be real exciting, but that's why it's not quite centered. It is on purpose. Now, before I cover it, I'm going to put some powdered sugar on my cake plate. It is a little trick that I learned. I don't know, honestly, if I heard it from somewhere else, but when you put this down, this is just a cardboard silver foiled cake plate, and putting the powdered sugar down means when you lay the fondant over it, the extra that hits the plate won't stick. It'll just lift right off, and it's wonderful. Because I hate it when you have to pick and peel at your cake. Oh, the bottom fell off. Okay. Now I'm gonna roll out my fondant now that my cake plate is ready. Some people like to put down powdered sugar or cornstarch or a mixture thereof on their surfaces to roll out their fondant, which is great. Go right ahead if that's what works for you. I prefer using vegetable shortening. I find it doesn't allow my fondant to dry out as quickly, and it absorbs right in, so there's no residual shine or anything like that, no taste or anything. It just is what works for me, so that's what I use. Yeah. So I'm going to put a nice slather down, and if you guys do have any questions on what I'm doing or the tools I'm using, I will try to answer them as best I can. I do this out of my kitchen. I try to learn as much as I can by, watching other people who know more than me on YouTube. So again, if I can help you, I will certainly try. All right, I think I've got a good slather going here. That's the official term right there. And I want it to be really big. I've got an 8-inch cake over here. And so I need to not only cover the top of the cake, but I have to have enough to cover the sides and the top. So I don't need just 8 inches. I need another 4 about on the sides. So when it's all said and done, you always want too much. Never too little, because too little means you gotta do it over again. All right. I think I'm good here. Nope, I've got to fold. I'm going to knead it a little bit more, get some of that powdered sugar off me. Okay, and I've got some pink spots where I didn't mix it in properly. Now I like to use my big rolling pin for this. Of course, if you guys know what you're doing, you already know this. You have your favorite one. I have a few of them, and I just find that this one is the right size and weight for me. So, and it is a Wilton rolling pin, if you're curious. And as I'm doing this, I'm seeing more of those little pink spots. So my pink food coloring, I think, needs to be replaced. It was getting a little dry. Starting to make some little crystals in it. Now, again, these rolling pins typically come with little rubber band things that you slide over each end, and that goes on like this, so when you roll, it stays at an even height. However, I've done this a lot, and I don't have the patience to put the rubber bands on and off every darn time I want to use it. So I just wing it. See more of these little spots. I really need some new pink food coloring. Okay, I'm going to try to get it as circular as I can too, because that will just make my life easier when it's all said and done and going on the cake. Okay, I think I'm just about there. I need to go a little thinner. I still have it pretty thick. It's also a bad part about not using the little rubber band bumpers, is that I tend to roll thick when left to my own devices. Okay, I think we're good here. And when I roll it, I usually will go a little longer. I know I said I want to try to make it a circle, but circle shaped as much as I can, but I do, I guess oval is more the proper word, because I do want it a little bit longer, so then I can see it's a little longer than it is wide. So when I pick it up, I'll pick it up this way, and then the little bit of elasticity that's in the fondant will kind of stretch, and it'll make it all more even shaped and sized. All right, so here's my cake. Here we go. And I love to see the videos of people who like just roll it up onto their rolling pin, like, oh yeah, like rolling up, I don't know, saran wrap or something. They just roll it all up into one big loop, and I just can't. I'll never separate it again, which is maybe where the powdered sugar comes in and cornstarch instead of using Crisco. So I got it on here, just gonna start in the front, patting it down, because if there are any mistakes, they're gonna end up in the back where people hopefully won't notice or care as much, where the pictures won't be taken. And when I'm smoothing it down, I try to lift up on the skirt part to make a fold and then tuck down into that fold. So lift and slide your hand up and down, and you should get a pretty clean mark of it. I've got a little bit right here that, because again, I kind of roll it thick, I can just kind of press down and smush it down, and now it's gone below the line of where I'm going to cut. So goodbye, crease. Okay. It's a little hard to do backwards, but I'm trying to show you what I'm doing here. I don't want another crease. One's enough. And I've said it before too, if you do end up with a mistake that you can't just press out or whatever, cover it with a decoration. People aren't going to be lifting up flowers and polka dots to see what's hidden underneath. So if you can hide it, hide it. If you can't, then maybe you have to patch it or redo it. But most situations, you can get away with the decoration cover. All right. Now I've got this on. This is just a fondant paddle, smoothing paddle. It makes your edges nice and smooth. It makes your sides a little more even. If you have, I don't know if you can see, there's like a little lump here, so you just kind of buff it out gently. It makes it look a little more even. And there's some people who are like, bam, 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 and they just crank through it and make it look so cool. I admire people like that. So, goals for one day. Now I do have my pizza cutter. This is what I use to cut off the extra. And again, I'm going to start in the back, being careful not to get too close to the cake. I want to give it a little bit of just a tiny bit of an edge so that I don't accidentally cut it too close and you see cake underneath, because you can always cut away more. Can't put it back. And this is where, you know, the power of editing is great. It's just like, oh, look, here's a cake. Boom, it's covered in fondant. Doesn't take any time at all. All right, here's my extra. Okay, not too shabby. I'm just going to use my paddle again and smooth it down some more. Because I do have like a little bit of a lip sticking out, which is fine. So I'm just going to kind of press it down. If it sticks out too far, it'll get smushed like right here. I don't know if you can see there's a little one. I'll just nip it right off. And like I said, if you have any questions or anything, just send them over to me because I'm here. I'll be here for a little while, and I appreciate you being here with me. It does make it a little nicer to have some people interested in what you're doing when you like to do it too. All right. So again, just taking off the extra, cleaning it up, making it nicer looking. Okay, this one didn't cut all the way. Okay, there we go. There's my little lip that I thought I pressed down enough. So I'm gonna go straight at it like a crazy person. All right. Now, I think I'm pretty good. I am going to put a border of pearls on the cake so the bottom doesn't have to be perfect. And it's another thing, you know, you can do if it's ever not precise and crisp, put a border on it. No one's gonna know. I'm gonna clean up the cake plate now. So I'm just gonna wet a paper towel a little bit and get all the excess powdered sugar off. And the powdered sugar with a little bit of water, we'll just lift it right off. And I got a question, how much fondant do you need to cover your cake? I've got this cake right here. I mixed about a pound and a quarter's worth of fondant, and I have a lot extra. I always go too heavy with it. I'm too generous with it because I want to be safe. I don't know the rule of thumb, honestly. I feel like there probably is one. But yeah, I would say a cake, 8-inch cake, and this is 3 layers of it as well, 3 2-inch layers. So am I about 6 tall? That's good. I'm curious now. I think I'm about 4 or 5. Okay, I'm 4 tall. Okay. Yeah, so I used a little over a pound, but how much did I actually use? Probably about 3/4 of a pound for this cake. And again, I'm not sure. There's probably a chart out there that'll give you good guidelines if you want to try to save and not waste so much. However, this stuff can be stored in the fridge. You got to wrap it up nice and tight and store your extra in the fridge, and it will last for like a good week or so if you have more cakes or orders coming. And if you don't, throw it away. Feed it to the deer in the yard. All right. Now this is covered. I'm going to go stick it in the fridge and start working on my crown. So goodbye, cake. Okay. Now the crown I'm going to make out of gum paste. And since I'm making it right now, it will probably not be hard enough in time to put on the cake later on. So I'm figuring if it can't go on, I'll just make like a little short or something to see it so you guys can see it all put together. See the glory of it. Okay, I gotta get this stuff off. So I use a lot of my Clorox wipes. It disinfects and removes the grease 1, 2, 3. It does, however, get your counter very wet. So I'll just dry it. There's lots of cleanup and lots of mess when you do this kind of stuff, as some of you I'm sure know very well. One of the other things is I use white fondant, white gum paste with all the stuff that I do, and I color it myself, and sometimes my hands get so stained. It looks terrible. I'm like, no, I've washed my hands. I swear I do. About 1,000,000 times. It's just very messy. All right, so this is just a glass pane that I like to work on. It saves my countertop from getting cut up when I do my gum paste decorations because I'll use knives and stuff to cut and X-Acto knife, and I've put many little marks in the counter, so I'm trying to protect it. And this way too, it's smooth, so I don't work on like a cutting board or anything like that. I've had people ask me why, and the cutting boards, the plastic ones, have like that little bit of a texture to them that you just don't want. All right, this crown I'm going to make is going to be, again, very simple, nothing too detailed. I'm using gum paste for it, and if you don't know the difference between gum paste and fondant, you're not alone. But there's not really that much of a difference. They're basically the same thing, except gum paste has some, I think it's Tylose or CMC powder built into it so that it holds its shape. So when you mold it and you shape it, all those gum paste flowers and things, the 3D stuff you make that people have made, you know, it just holds its shape. And if I try to do this, ooh, there we go. It's turning me into a liar. If I try to do this here, it's like right over. So, yep, that's why I tend to use gum paste rather than fondant. If you don't want to spend the money because this stuff is more expensive and you're only doing a cake here and there, just use fondant, and you can get CMC Tylose powder. This is the Wilton brand online very easily. And you just take your fondant and kind of dab it in it. I'm going to do it later. You'll see me do it. And it'll turn it into gum paste, basically. It does feel a little different if you are used to handling gum paste, but it's not a big deal. So this crown is going to be a very basic, like I said, and I'm just going to roll a bunch of even shapes and then shape it and then stick it on my container over here that I have prepped with a paper towel and then let it dry. And this way, when I lay it over it, it will go around, and when it hardens, it'll have a nice round crown shape to it. And I find this out too. You need to get creative with the stuff you have. If you don't have a bakery to work in, you get creative. All right, so the crown I am going to make is going to have a little bit of a heart at the top and just more like a bunch of little curly cues kind of put together. So again, not too detailed, not too, or, you know, it'll look pretty, but not high up in the skill department. So lots of people, you know, if you're willing to try it, you could probably do this yourself at home. That is the whole goal of what I do, is I try to show people that you can do it yourself. You just sometimes need someone to show you how, and the courage to try it. And so that's another thing too. If you guys do ever make anything and you want to share it with me, I love to see it because it validates what I'm doing, first of all. And I'm really proud to see that people took the chance, you know, they tried it. And usually they're so good. And even the ones that aren't the shiniest or best, they made someone so happy that they did it themselves. They made it with their own time and effort. And I have yet to have anyone say their kid hated it. And I like to show it off too. So I will post it and share it if you send me something. Okay, I'm making it nice and long just because I don't want to have to keep redoing it. And I'm using my fondant paddle just to roll it out because it makes a nice even roll. And as long as you hold it up kind of high on the one end and just roll it gently so you don't smush it, you can get a pretty good length out of it before it'll either get too thin, like it's starting to get too thin right here. So I'm gonna have to cut it. But that's all right, I am well begun. Now as far as the crown goes, like I said, I'm gonna have a heart at the top. First I gotta make sure it's actually even. In order to see if it's even, whatever you roll out, take your two ends and hold them up to each other. And if they match up pretty darn close, call it good enough. And eyeball it too, you know, if it looks like it's a little too thick, fix it. Okay, So I'm going to make just a little rough, not rough, just a little heart shape here. So it might be hard to see what I'm doing. Let me back it up a little. There we go. And then I'm going to eventually cover it with some gold shimmer, but for now, it is what it is. Okay. I can see it's a little uneven. That's going to eat up my soul, so I've got to fix it. Okay, so now I've got a heart. Just a basic, nothing special heart. So if you can make a heart shape, you're already able to make a lot of this crown. Okay. Putting it all together so that it sticks might be a little more tricky, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. All right, now I am looking at a picture over here that I'm trying to copy. And I'll show you guys in just a second. And all I'm seeing with this crown is a lot of S shapes. So you can see it's just a lot of like very curly letter S's. And as long as you can break down, a design into simple little parts, you can figure it out. I think I just smushed it rather than rolled it, which is not as good. Okay. So, all right, so we've got a V with curls on each end coming out. And I do want to clean up my edges because they're a little rough. So I'm going to give them a little pat. Move my heart back down so you can see it. And this is just going to kind of curl around and go like that. So again, nothing too crazy here. Heart's a little crooked. Okay. So that's it for now. I'm going to need more. I'm going to have to remix this or re-knead it. It dried out a little bit because it does dry out very quickly. And this kneading that I'm doing with my fingers and thumbs like this, I press with my thumb all the time. And now I feel like I'm getting arthritis in my one thumb. It hurts sometimes at night. I lay in pain with my thumb. All right, I'm going to move those up. There was an artist, who was it? Had really bad arthritis, a famous, I don't know, Renaissance artist or somebody who had said, the pain lasts for a little while, but the beauty lasts forever, when they asked why he still painted with such crippling arthritis in his hands. So, yeah, I don't think I'm quite on that level, but I do understand the effort and if it's worth it in the end. And if you know that, do you know that artist's name? You know who I'm talking about, right? And if any of you know who's watching, let me know, because it's not Rembrandt. I don't know. So once again, rolling out more S's here. Or at least that's what I'm going to do once I get it thin enough, because I think it's still a little too thick, especially on this end. Okay. So this is going to be a chunky crown when it's all said and done. All right. So I'm going to have two big S's in the center and then two smaller ones on the side, and really that's it. So I'm going to divide my gum paste in half. Just line it up, cut it down the center, give the edges a little pat, make them a little smoother and flatter, and then make my curly letter S's. And these do rest on top of each other, which is good because that will give it more support. And then this comes down into it a little bit more. All right. So there we go. More S's. I'm going to let these sit on my counter a little bit before I try putting them on the bottle that I prepared, the canister I prepared, in order to let these harden a little bit more. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but I'm just finagling and touching and moving, trying to get it into a little bit better shape. And again, this is when the magic of editing comes in handy, because I could just be like, bam, S is done. You don't have to see all this little tweak, tweak, tweak. But hey, where's the excitement in that, right? Okay. Okay, there we go. And like that. Now I am going to end up putting a number on the middle of this, which will also lend it more structural support, fortunately, because otherwise this thing's kind of flimsy and a little tall. So, all right, I'm going to make my last S's for now. And I'm going to add a little bit of Crisco here because it's starting to get a little bit sticky. It's real humid here today, so I'm having some issues. And if any of you are cake makers already out there, you know the joys of making summer cakes with the heat and the humidity. Although Satin Ice, I haven't tried it yet, but Satin Ice has come out with their tropical collection. And it is supposed to be fondant that is heat and sunlight and humidity resistant. So it's not supposed to sweat going in or out of the refrigerator. It's not supposed to get melty up to like 85 degrees or something outside. So yeah, I'm honestly excited about that, because all my boys, my kids have summer birthdays. And I don't like having melty stuff or not being able to show it off. You know, you want to have your cake out, but you might not want everybody inside your house. And I don't know if any of you guys have used it yet. If so, let me know, because I'd be curious to know how it works, if you liked it, if you found it was actually helpful. All right. So I've got a really long piece here that is many different thicknesses, just because I've been kind of chatting and not paying attention as I'm rolling. So a little bit more, I think, will be good enough to cut it. Okay, I think we're just about there. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to cut this end. You can see it got real skinny right along here, maybe against my shirt. But I'm gonna cut that off so it's a non-issue. Okay, cut my other end off. See how I did? Pretty darn close. It's like I've done this a few times. I feel like it's a little thick in the center still. Okay, so I'm going to do one more S on either side again. Going to divide it in half again. Okay. And I'm going to make these side ones a little bit bigger because they are going to go on the side. I want them to have a little bit more meat on them so that they hold up and don't fall apart on me, because that would make me very sad. Okay, so these are now crazy huge, but that's okay. Okay. I just slide it down for you again. And to twist it, I'm just literally just giving it a crank, trying hard not to make fingernail marks in it. Seems like no matter how much you cut them, there's always that little move you make that'll put it right back in there. Oh, see, that one came out nice. This one's all kind of wonky, but there we go. All right, so even though it's flat right now, when I give it a little bit of time, put it together, lay it over that canister I've got with the paper towel on it, it should then settle and then form around it. So here we go. I don't know how well or not this is going to work. When I use these kinds of things, I take a dish towel, just what I do. Again, you know, necessity and all that. But I roll the ends of it up, and then I will end up with a very nice, stable nest that I can pick up and move and put down, and it's not going to roll away and dump, because I've had that happen, and it's terrible. All right, so starting there, easy enough. Now to connect my gum paste to the other pieces, I'm going to just use a little bit of water. I know that there are decoration glue solutions out there that you can use. Great, use them, you know, no problem. Maybe they would work better even. But I found that water is, you know, coming out of my sink already, and it works. So there you go. I'm just going to use a paintbrush and paint a little bit of water. I'm just brushing it on the sides lightly. So you don't want to get it too wet, because if it's too wet, then it becomes slippery, and anything you try to stick to it will fall right off. And you don't want that. So I'm going to take my next piece and press it onto where it was sitting before, where the water was and where the decoration was. Now the decoration is touching, I don't know if you can see, it's kind of hard, up here as well as here. So I'm going to take a little bit of water, brush it off on the sides so it's very thin, put a little bit between, and just kind of hold it just for a moment. Right here as well. And typically a few seconds is all you need, and it'll stick together. So I'll do it again on this side. Taking a little bit of water, brushing it off on the side so it's just damp. Go between the pieces. And if you find it's not enough, just add more water. That whole you can always add more thing applies here too. And I'm using the back of my paintbrush to get in there so I don't put fingernail marks. Just hold it for a moment. Okay, so far so good, and I'm getting that round shape. Now I'm going to put my lovely S's on, and this is where it might get tricky, because these side ones might have to sit off, and then when I put it on the cake, I'll put the side pieces on, because I feel like they're just going to drop unless they're supported enough, but we'll cross that bridge, right? We'll get there. So first of all, I'm going to carefully pick it up. My first one here, I know it's going to touch here, so I'm going to add some water here and press it into place. And just hold it for a moment. Okay, so that's fine. Where it's touching up, it's hard to show you. Where it's touching here and up here and in here, I'm going to add a little brush of water as well, just a tiny bit. So I don't want to make it slippery. I do want it to stick. This is when I can kind of tweak my shape a little bit too. All right, so that seems to be okay. All right, I'm going to do the next side now. Again, a little brush here because it probably dried. Take my piece, set it up here. Gotta get a little closer. Okay. Whoops. See, it came right off that time, so I need to add a little more water. And hold it. Okay, there it goes. Okay, I'm going to connect the two right here. There we go. Right here, as well as those spots again on the other side. So hold it together. And it doesn't take long, just a moment. If it's gonna stick, then it's gonna stick for you. Typically does not give you too much of a hard time. Yeah, see, it's already sticking together nicely. Okay. Now I gotta decide. I don't think these are gonna stay. I can tell already. These are just these are going to be too far on the side. So I'm just going to put these onto a paper towel and let them set as best I can, or let them set up more so that they'll be stiff enough that I can just stack them on when the time comes. And again, this is going to have to dry overnight, at least a few hours. Since I don't have any food coloring in it, it will dry a lot faster. If you add food coloring to your gum paste, you may find that it takes a little longer, especially colors that you have to add a lot of food coloring to, like red or black, which honestly might be worth buying if you can find it. It's hard to find in some places. So I'm just trying to reshape it, and then I'm going to leave these guys alone. Okay. Hopefully they're about the same height too. That's always a good thing when you check your sizes. Okay, so these are just gonna have to wait. Yep, they're just gonna have to wait. And this, because it's so nice and stable, I'm just gonna move it aside and not worry about it right now. All right. Okay, now that that is out of the way and well begun, I'm going to get my cake back out, and I'm going to start adding the border at the bottom. I had mentioned that I was going to do the pearl border, and I am. But to do the pearl border, I'm going to use this mold. And this mold has this lovely beading right here that I'm going to use. I'm going to use gum paste with it. I find it comes out easier. A lot of the silicone mats, they release nicely, but I don't know if I have hot hands or something, but fondant tends to get a little mushy on me. I am also going to put some Crisco inside here. So I'll just use a paper towel, get a little bit of Crisco on it, and just kind of rub it in there. So again, nice, easy release. And if you see me, using anything that you guys can use, like I mentioned, the fondant, the gum paste, if you want to give that a try, or if you can use it yourself. I do have a website, CaketasticCakes.com, that has affiliate links. So you're not buying from me, but you're kind of giving me a little bit of a hand that honestly I appreciate. So yeah, I'm not above charity. All right, I'm not getting it in there as nicely as I'd like. So I'm going to use a different little paintbrush and kind of swirl it in. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Typically it works when nobody's watching me. So that's kind of the way of things though. The second you get an audience, right? Okay, so I've got it nice and greasy. And again, I'm not worried about any extra that comes off. The gum paste will suck it right up and it'll dry, no problems. And I'm going to do one real quick just to show you how it'll come out. So I take some of my gum paste, got my mold, got to roll it, make sure there's no wrinkles or folds or anything. So when I do this, I do a lot of pinching, so some lint in there. And I have my clean side and then the messy side, and I'll take the clean side and just kind of push and pinch it all together so that, and try to push those folds on top of each other as much as possible. So then I have basically a mushroom kind of shape where it's nice and round and smooth, no creases. And then I have my little ugly part that, will go on the back where you connect it to the cake so no one will even see it. And now I'm going to just roll it out, to a decent size so that it will press in, but there's extra on the top, which is good because you don't want too little in there. So press it down. So I usually roll it over with my little rolling pin, my little guy here for decorating. And then you need a sharp knife. It's got to be good and sharp. And you got to make sure it's perfectly clean. So I'm getting all this gum paste that stuck to it from making the crown off. And then it's got to be dry. And what I'll do to get it out, or to get this extra off, is I lay my blade sideways and then just drag it halfway toward the end. And as long as your blade is nice and clean, it should just come right off. So you have just what's left in the mold. And give it another wipe because I got a little residue on there. And do the same thing for the other side. I am right-handed, so this is more awkward for me. But just drag it. Try not to press down and drag. Just try to drag across the surface, or you start to dig into the actual decoration itself. Okay. I'm just making sure I don't have any rough edges sticking out. And now I've got this. When you peel it, start at the one end and then just gently lift it out. And now I've got my chain of pearls. Nice and easy. So a lot of times you'll find little hacks and molds and things you can use. And if you're going to reuse it over and over again, then it's worth the money. If I were doing this one time and I did not have this mold, I would not go out and spend, $8 or $9 to get it. I would just go buy a bag of candy pearls and just go stick, 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 stick. And it would take longer, but it would be a few dollars instead of 8 or 9. And so, yeah, there's always little ways around things. All right, so now I'm gonna grab the cake so we can start putting this stuff on. So I gotta get it out of my fridge and I will be right back. Okay, now my pearls are going to go around the cake like so. And of course it doesn't have a clean, it's not a solid border that goes all the way around. I'm going to have these, 6-inch segments that I'm going to work with. But fortunately with the pearls, they just match up against each other and it'll be fine. Just sticking it against it, it's not actually holding onto the cake. So back to my water. I'm going to take some of my water and paint it along the bottom of the cake. And the fondant is just fine with it. If you're doing certain colors, like black especially, you don't want to get little watermarks on it if you can help it because it tends to stay shiny. Sometimes red will do it too. Red and black, those two colors are a pip to work with. So this is okay though. The pink is very forgiving. So I'm just going to let it rest on its side against the bottom of the cake board. And just gently pat it kind of into place because I don't want to lose too much. I don't want to lose any of the shape of the pearls if I can help it. And some of these I'm going to go in between to press it down even more. From my angle, looking straight down on it, I can see where it's holding on and I can see where there's like little gaps. And this also makes the pearls look a little more separated and a little more pearl-like rather than bumpy chain-like, caterpillar-like. So there you go. Got a good start going here. I'm just going to keep going until I get enough to go around the base of the cake. So again, it's not hard if you just know about it, or if I had the candy pearls, just line them up. I'd probably use a little bit of buttercream icing along the bottoms to give them something to hold on to, because candy pearls don't typically like to hold on to fondant. But yeah, you can do it. Okay. And again, if you guys have any questions, send them over because otherwise I'm going to be making pearls. It's not super exciting. I mean, it's the best. Are you kidding, right? This is so exciting. Ooh, look at me roll this gum paste. Look at me not even know what it's called. Now this piece is a little too short, but because it's so darn fat in the center, when I roll it, it's gonna just fill it all in. Same for this side. Okay. Make sure this is clean. Okay. Okay. And I tend to just throw stuff around, as you can see. So then I'm like, where did I put that? Here's my next chain. Okay, there we go. Now to continue on where I left off with this cake, I'm just going to add it on right to the end and keep it moving so it'll all just kind of blend together. I mean, obviously there will be some kind of a little seam between the two, as long as people aren't, micro inspecting everything you've done. They're not going to care or notice Okay, so again, gonna try to match it up without smushing anything as gently as I can. And voila! I need a little more water on the end. I didn't go far enough. Okay. Now when I do the pressing here, I want to make sure to press these two together. And then go down the line. You don't want to start from the end and go forward because there is going to be slight shift in the pearl chain itself. A little bit of stretching, a little bit of changing the shape. And if you do end up with making it a little bit longer, you want that longer end to go further back. You don't want to go toward the center where you could end up with a bulge or a bubble or, crowding it together to make it fit. All right, so probably 2 more will do it. Gamer Boy wants to know what made me start making cakes. It was my son's first birthday, my oldest son's first birthday, and he loved Baby Einstein. So I don't know if you guys remember it, because I don't think it's even a thing anymore. But Baby Einstein and Rocket, and I searched and searched and searched to try to find, a cake or something with decorations, even toys I could put on a cake. And I couldn't find anything because it was too new of a show. So I figured, forget it. Didn't use that word, but forget it. And I'll just do it myself. So I tried making a cake on my own. And it was, I don't know if I'll have to find a picture of it. But it was blocks that I cut cake into squares and then iced and tried to stack like a children's toy blocks. And it came out very cute for what I could do at the time. Now I look at it and cringe. But that started it all many years ago. And my sister, and I didn't really do much. I would make my kids cakes, and that was it. And I would try. My other son's first birthday, I made a ladybug using a Pyrex glass bowl. I baked the cake in there so it came out like a dome, and then I just, dotted the icing on and used a couple pieces of black licorice for antenna, and I felt like I was, freaking cake boss in Pennsylvania. So so I was doing that for a while, and then my sister, I have a twin sister, took a class at AC Moore back when they were still a thing, and just a little cake decorating class, and she made something, and I was just so blown away by it. I was like, okay, I gotta learn how to do this. So yeah, between wanting to make it for my kids and being jealous of my sister is what got me started with this. What am I even doing here? I'm talking too much that I'm not even paying attention to what I'm doing. All right, yeah, this is gonna be too thin. So anyway, now that I talked so much, I'll refix this. And another way to get wrinkles and folds out of your fondant or gum paste when you're working with it like this, put it between your palms and really press hard as you smash it into a ball between your hands. And that gets the marks out really well too. Just something else I figured out along the way. All right. I was taking a walk down memory lane there and I got all distracted in what I was doing. Okay, make sure this is clean and dry. Okay. I like this mold a lot. I think little roses and filigree things are pretty. I don't use them much, but I have used them. Okay, so I've got another chain. Move that out of the way. Bring back my cake. Add some more water to it. Making sure I get right up to it, to the other end. And then sticking it on. Yeah, I'm only going to need a little piece to finish it, but I'll still make a whole one. because again, it's better to have too much. All right. And that little fold that was back here, I don't know if you can see it anymore. There's just a little tip sticking out behind that last pearl strand I put on. So it's like it doesn't exist. It's 90% more gone, or 90% gone or more. There we go, more gone. It doesn't exist anymore. All right, last one. Every time I have to re-clean this knife because every time there's a little residue. And anytime there's residue on, it will snag and pull anything else that's underneath. And the same thing will happen if you are just icing your cake and you're just going for a smooth icing on the outside and you're using your spatula or even an icing scraper. You've got to clean it every time. And that one time you get lazy is when it'll bite you. Okay. All right, done with that. Got a hair on me. Okay. I'm going to pick whichever end looks cleaner. I'm going to start over here because I like this end better. And press it into place. And the way these pearl things line up is so nice because they are just right on the money as far as distance going around cakes. So I am just going to put it together like that. Whoops, that's sticking up. Okay. And again, press between. And there we go. So now we got a pearly cake. If you have it and you're inclined, you could go back over these pearls with some white shimmer or silver shimmer or something like that. If you have it, you want to, it'll just make it a little more sparkly, a little more pearlesque. But for now, I am calling it good because my white is nice and bright. I don't know if it's coming off bright, but it is. It is, darn it. Okay. Now I'm going to make some drapes to go around the top of the cake. Some swags, maybe something like that you might call them. But I'm going to use a different color pink. This pink I'm going to end up putting in my bag for now because it's getting a little bit dry. I don't want that. So goodbye, pink. Okay. This is the brighter color. This is actually rose. It's not pink. And I'm going to turn this into some drapes that'll go kind of like loop-de-loo, around the cake. And they'll have a little bit of a bow at each peak where the two will come together. And since I'm going to be having a bow, I can do separate little individual swags and the weight of it won't be so great because it's just one big one trying to hang from the top here that it'll just pull down or fall. I'll be able to have smaller ones that I'll be able to support independently if needed, which will probably be needed, honestly. And as far as supports go, if I do end up having to use anything, I will use pieces of dried spaghetti. I don't use toothpicks in my cakes ever. I don't use wires in my cakes ever. Most of my cakes obviously are geared toward children, and I don't want a child ever getting hurt on one of my cakes. And I've heard horror stories of those Mickey Mouse cupcakes where they put those cute little Oreos and stick them in on a toothpick, and you get that one little toddler who runs over and just bites right into it. And I've heard too many stories of kids getting stuck in the mouth on a toothpick. So piece of dried spaghetti isn't hurting anybody. It's not going to taste bad. Be a little crunchy, I guess, but perfectly edible, perfectly safe. I also will use lollipop sticks in a lot of my stuff. And because I don't use wires or toothpicks, I'm limited. It becomes limiting on what I can do and how many standing decorations I can make, that kind of thing, or how many poses I can achieve. But you know what? No one's getting hurt. So to me, it's worth it. I guess if I were doing more of an adult cake, I could do something and be like, hey, don't eat this. It's got a wire in it. But for kids, you know, they see something cool and they just bite it. All right, I'm going to stick with my glass pane, I think, in order to roll out my fondant here. And since I have my wide part, or it's set back so the cake board is the widest here, I'm going to have a peak here and drape and then drape. So I'll end up with 4 drapes going around it when it's all said and done. And hopefully they won't be too heavy and they'll just come out nicely. So I have a hard time sometimes folding fondant into those perfect little ripples that other people are so lucky and fortunate, skilled enough to be able to achieve. So pretzel sticks, yeah, and 2 donuts together, candy melts. Yes, yep, I will have to try that actually. I've never tried using pretzel sticks. Yeah, so no one's getting hurt at your cakes either. Just makes me crazy. But you can make some really cool looking stuff out of it. So a little jealous, but not worth it. All right. And this was originally supposed to be a Princess Aurora Sleeping Beauty cake, hence the pink on top of the pink with the pink and the bows in the pink. But they decided they didn't want her on it. They just wanted the princess cake. So I'm like, okay. It saves me from having to make an Aurora, because I don't have a Cricut or anything like that. So I try to hand create most of the things I make. Now, pearl chain excluded, of course. Now with my sway here, let me get my diameter going. I don't know if you guys have this, but a nice little sewing tape measure is great to have, because you can just wrap it around gently and get a measurement. Okay, so it's not going to be perfect. However, it'll be good. I'm 28 inches in diameter, or in circumference. Geometry was a long time ago. So 28 divided by 4 is 7, right? Did I do that right? It's darn close. And if I have a little bit of a gap in between, that's okay, because again, I'm going to have a little bow connecting between, so you won't even have to look at the mistakes I make. All right. Now, put 2 donuts together. Yeah. I am just cutting a square, more like a rectangle. And I'm going to lift it up on the one end and fold it under. And this is where, I try. You can only do as best you can, right? And I fold it and fold it and fold it, like when you're a kid and you're making a paper fan or something like that. That's what I'm doing here. So I end up with kind of this mess going on here, like a pair of crazy lips or something. And when I put it on, what I'm trying to do here is have it sway, but I need to pull the top a little tighter. So I'm just kind of pulling at the top a little bit with my thumbs here and allowing this bottom part to just kind of stretch a little bit, so it gets more of the droop effect going on with it. And again, not perfect, definitely not perfect, but it won't be terrible. And my 2 ends are super thick where it's all coming together. So I'm pressing down into my glass here smushing it out. It's going to hold it all together, and then I will just trim it off. So here goes. Let's see. This is pretty heavy, so I don't know how well it's going to hang on. It's also too big. Okay. So I'm cutting my edges. So that's actually more of the size I need to get a quarter of the way around 4 times. And I'm just going to kind of fold it and see what I can do to get it to stick. Okay, so I've got my front here, and I'm just going to go like that and try to get it to hold on. Hold on, darn you. Okay, so for right now it's holding on, but I can tell as soon as I walk away from it, it's going to drop. It's got just a little bit too much heft to it. Okay, so I am going to end up using some supports for it. And eventually, it will settle and stick once it gets a little drier. But in the meantime, I'm going to support the 2 ends, and I'm just going to stick it inside one of the folds and leave it sticking out. So it's not going to look great for right now. But later on, I'm going to take it off, and then it won't even matter. And the spaghetti that you use, if you should decide to use this method, has to be regular old spaghetti. You can't use the whole grain or the, chickpea or any of those other ones. It's got to be regular old spaghetti. Because for some reason, the other ones, they absorb the moisture, and they get all mushy and smushy and gross. So I don't know how well this is going to hold. Okay. What I'm doing here is I'm just pressing into it to try to press that top piece a little bit more against the cake to hold a little bit better. So in effect, I'm just creating another fold in it. And that seems to be doing better for it. So it looks less like crazy lips too, hanging on the side of the cake. Okay. All right. And again, I'm going to kind of press down on my 2 ends. So I do need a bow to fit on here, and I don't need the bow sticking off 3 inches off the cake. Okay. Flap number 1. Done. Yeah, I think I'll get 4 on there. The back 2 might be a little smaller. Not gonna lie. And if it does fall off, I'll just redo it. Yeah, that's all it is. It's just redoing it. And that's why, again, when I make the videos and they're all edited, all you'll see is me do it one time and stick it on. It's like, la la, Like I used to watch Rachel Ray and those cooking shows back in the day. And they'd be like, oh, and I have the finished one here. I'm like, ugh, if life were only that simple. That would be so nice. Okay. And I end up scooting my board around, my glass pane around a lot. When I roll stuff around. I guess I could use a piece of marble or something instead of glass, but I feel like marble also scratches and chips, and I don't know. All right. What I should have done, hindsight and all that, I should have measured how tall my rectangle was when I cut it. So then I would have equal sizes. I am not always that clever. All right, here we go. Attempt number 2. And there are some people who make these little swags and they get like 1,000 perfectly spaced and even little ripples and folds. And it's like, oh, so much more you can learn and do. There's always more you improve on. Okay, so once again, I got my crazy lips going. I'm gonna go this way again. This one's more sticky. Did I mention it's humid here? Okay. If it gets too sticky, I'm gonna just force it apart like that. All right, I'm using my first one as a template. So I can try to get the first 2 that are gonna show in the front at least the same size. Try to get a little symmetry going here. And that's the problem when you have a simple cake like this. You gotta pay attention to the details because they stick out so much more than a cake with tons of decoration and drizzle and drip and sprinkles and stuff. You can hide so much more in those. Not that I'm ever hiding anything because they're always perfect, of course. All right, I'm giving this one a good slather of water. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, once again, a little bit too long. That's okay. Cutting it off. Stick it back on. And I am leaving a little bit of space between the 2. Again, so that when I do the bows, they will have room to be in there. Oh, okay. Someone's asking what part of Pennsylvania I'm in. I'm actually in part of the Poconos, the very top of the Poconos in Milford, Pennsylvania, in that area. So Altoona and Rivono, is that how you say it? That is a little bit of a hike from me. So I am right where New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania all come together and touch in that one little corner. I'm tucked up in there, but still technically the Poconos. So when people ask, I just say Poconos. All right, I'm going to support this one just in the center. And I got to get it more of a little fold there. The sides seem to be sticking well. This is a lot stickier. I don't know if my hands are getting more covered in Crisco, so it's a little more sticky or what, but okay. So not the most perfect swags in the world, but still swaggy. And that is a new word too. Okay. So got a couple more to do in the back, and then I'm going to stick it in the fridge to just let it kind of get harder and set up a bit because it's still a little droopy, little poopy. Okay. And like I said, any questions or anything else, pretty much if I can answer it, I'll answer it. I don't care too much. Okay, I've got where I was cutting before, I've got like this sticky line here. So I'm just gonna use I need more water. I'm gonna use my wet paper towel to lift it off without, hopefully without removing all the rest of the Crisco I put on there. Okay. And I don't know if any of you guys have kids who play video games much, but now I'm also on another website. It's called Game Jolt, where it's a video gamers community, basically like Facebook for kids or people who play video games. And so I've done some live streams on there as well as, video game cakes. And that's fun. I like doing that. The princess stuff is cute and all, but you make a lot of princess cakes in over time. You only make so many Sonic cakes or Five Nights at Freddy's cakes. And I do enjoy kids' themes cakes. I like different cartoons and different art styles that you see with the animation. So I like seeing that. I like trying to recreate it. But there's only so many Paw Patrols and so many princesses and unicorns you can do before the sparkle starts to fade. All right, so it's perfectly long enough. I'd like to say I did that on purpose, but I can't. And I feel like it's going to be too long. I think the back might have to be a little bit shorter, just a smidgen. Okay, here we go. Come on, folds. Don't fail me now. All right, that one wasn't so bad. Okay. All right. Yeah, watch the prettiest folds now will go on the back of the cake. Now that I've practiced a few times. They'll be on the back where no one even sees them. Ain't that the way? And again, adding a lot of water to it. And again, thank you for joining me to do this. I do appreciate you guys coming out to watch, because it does make it nicer and other people can appreciate it too. All right, giving myself some space once again between the decorations, or between my little swags here. Gonna press down a bit. Yeah, it's getting humid enough that it's just sticking to the cake now, which is a-okay with me. And I'm curious too. I work on a pane of glass in my kitchen on my counter on my island. Do you guys, what surfaces do you guys work on? If you have like what is your glass pane basically? Because I do like my glass pane, but I do end up chipping it. I don't know if you can see the corners, because putting it in the sink to wash it and everything gets a little rough. So I'm just curious if you have a better method. I'm certainly willing to adapt. All right, I got one more swag to do, and then goodbye cake. Going in the fridge. Look how stretchy this is. It's so humid. Ugh. And the darn thing is, it won't rain. It's been so dry here for weeks and weeks. Like August is always dry, but July and June are both really dry. Ugh. All the humidity is staying in the air. Okay, and I'm also curious too of the people who are watching. Are you professional cake bakers? Are you hobbyists like me who do it out of your house? And I'm just kind of curious to hear what you guys have going on in your worlds. So I do like to get an idea of who I'm, reaching. What kind of people are seeing my videos. And at this point too, I found that I've done enough cakes over the years. A silicone mat, yeah. I have one, and I find my silicone mat has just any lint or dust sticks to it like crazy. And I end up spending so much time just like picking at it that I finally just put it away. I couldn't get rid of it because it's too nice. So I'm curious, did you end up with glass or with dust or lint or anything sticking to your silicone mat? Because maybe I just have a dusty house, which is possible. Yeah, definitely making cakes can be stressful, for sure. You never know. I tell people all the time, you could make a cake for 100 people, And 95 of them will like it, and there will always be a couple who are like, nope, this is no good, it's too dry, it's too bland, whatever. There's always going to be someone because it's so subjective. One of the things I love about cakes is you get to be creative. You get to be a little artistic with it. And then people get it, and then it's gone. Frequent, yeah. Oh, yeah, lint roller. A healing cutting mat. Big from Scotland. Oh, hi, Scotland. Scotland in the house. That's cool. Yes, more mats. Yeah, see, where I am in the Poconos is very rural. I don't know if you can see out my window behind me, but I've got mountains and woods behind me. And in order to have a shop around here, you pay crazy bucks for the retail space to rent. And we just don't have the traffic around here. I've seen many other people, so I'm not the only one in this area who does this. I've seen many other people start little cake shops in town, because we do have like a little tourist town that is basically the bloodline of this area. And they always fold. They just can't stay open. They don't get enough day-to-day foot traffic in. So, yeah, it would be nice to not have to do this in my kitchen and not have to clean it up. And yep. All right, my last swag is ready to go on. It's a little too long, so I'm going to trim it a bit. Yeah, so hobbyist bakers. That's what we all are. And isn't it everyone's dream to turn their hobby into a moneymaker? Which is why I'm on YouTube, making it big bucks over here. Oh yeah. With my ad revenue. I don't know if you guys are doing it at all or have thought about it, but yeah. You do it because you like to help people. You don't do it to get rich. That's for darn sure. Unless you've got Mr. Beast luck or something like that. See, I got another little lint on here. Okay. Come on, baby. Don't be the last one to give me a hard time. Stop dripping. Yep, this last one's going to give me a hard time. Yep. Do I have any more? I don't. I'm out of spaghetti. Oh, nope, I lied. Here's a little strand that I missed. You're going in there, buddy. And I am going to steal from the first part because it's already setting up. Okay. Who else can I steal from? Because normally I would just go wander over to my pantry and start searching around, but that would not be fun for you guys. Just sit and look at my cake. Not that it isn't amazing to look at, of course, right? Okay, come on. Just one more press. Just work with me. And I've got a lump where my spaghetti is, but it's in the back, so I don't care. All right, try to roll you up. Okay, you are just gonna have to stay as best you can. Yeah, I don't know anymore. Nope, darn. Oh well. Okay, so this is gonna go in the fridge. Hopefully when I pull it back out, the swags will still be there. Yeah, this one's ugly. This is an ugly one. Do you always have your fondant cakes in the fridge? Do you have issues with it sweating? Yes and yes. I typically do keep my fondant cakes in the fridge. And I do sometimes have issues with sweating, really only in the summer. Like now is really the only time. I really don't have too much of an issue with sweating unless I've got something like a chocolate drizzle going down it, then if the moisture gets on there, it'll pull the color. And I've had some color drips come down, which then I have to clean up. So it's still worth it to me, even if I can put it in for just a few minutes to try to get it a little more solid. So I just I just deal with it. I accept the sweat. Okay. And this cake will be gone tomorrow morning, so shouldn't be too bad. Shouldn't be too sweaty. But this time of year, I will definitely not put it in the freezer because then it will just get ruined. That would be just too much condensation if I did except the sweat. Yeah, sometimes you got to. And again, if we can dream together for a second. If we had that bakery that had the professional, pastry refrigerators with the dehumidifiers in them and everything else, it's like the big glass doors and yeah. Yes, one day, right? One day. Okay. So I got my swags. Now I'm going to make my little bows. My bows are going to be just regular old bows. Again, here's my little map I'm following here because the customer knew what they wanted. So yeah, they have a little heart in the middle of the bow, which works for me. But I do find it can be a double-edged sword when people ask you to make something that they've seen. Some of them are, every time, an artist makes something, because, that's kind of what we are. You have your own style and you have your own spin to it. And you see online on Facebook and that kind of thing, people who will redraw the Disney princesses or we do a lot of anime here, so I'll see pictures where the one anime artist or manga artist will draw the characters of different stories or manga in their own style. And it's always a little different. It's not exactly the same, but it's cool. However, not every person who sends you a picture of a cake they want thinks it's cool. So I've had people who were just disgusted with what I've made. But most of them, fortunately, though, are like, hey, be creative, do what you want, as long as it looks nice. I don't know if you guys have experienced that too, but I've had people who are upset with me before. Not too often, but it does happen. And then I get my little feelings hurt. And then I try not to cry, because I also feel like when you're making cakes for people, even if it's just, your own kids or family members or something, it's an honor because they're asking you and trusting you to be part of their very special moment. And those pictures that they take with it and the moment that's like typically the cake is the highlight of the moment, whether it's a wedding and they're cutting the cake. Well, maybe not in that situation, but birthday cakes and, anniversary cakes and things, it's a highlight. And so to be part of it is an honor. And I try not to forget about that it's not, just for the making of the cakes, but it's being a part of someone's special day. All right, I have my pink here. This is fondant. I'm going to use the Tyler's powder that I mentioned before. And I'm just going to scoop a little bit out onto my glass here. So you can kind of see it. It's very, very powder. It's very fine, very, very fine. I'll back it up a little bit so you can see it. And all I'm going to do is take my wad, if you haven't used this before or done this before, and you just kind of stamp it in it. And some of it's going to stick. A lot of it is not. And once you have some on here, just start folding it in and knead it in. It's going to be a little bit difficult to knead in because it does not stick. It makes the fondant loose and it kind of peels apart. Like you can see where that little air pocket is where the powder is. But if you keep working it, it will get incorporated and you can start to feel it change. Like what used to be really mushy and gooey starts to have some resistance to it. And you still have to add a little Crisco, or I do, if you use powdered sugar or cornstarch, then you add a little bit more because it still will stick to your surface. Okay, yeah, and I mentioned Game Jolt. It's a lot of kids, not gonna lie, some adults too. I'm just pressing it in some more. I'm gonna keep adding dabs of it until I like the way it feels. But on Game Jolt, the kids were watching me do a Sonic cake on a live stream, and they were just so obsessed with the glass pane. They were like, well, what if it breaks? You know, in the chat, they're like, what if it breaks? I'm like, fortunately, this came from an old entertainment system. So I've got like 3 or 4 more of these in the basement, so it's okay. And then they're like, well, what if all of them break? And like, well, in that case that I, go on a rampage, I guess, and shatter everything in the house, I would probably just go buy a new glass pane. But they were just so interested in the glass. Like, why? It was actually very cute. They were fun. All right, so I keep stamping and folding. It's starting to really get some resistance to it now, so I think I'm almost done with this. And the bows I'm going to make are going to be super basic bows. Trademark pending. Yeah, see, it's already starting to really retain its shape. And since the bows are just going on the side of the cake and the center is going to be covered with a heart anyway, I don't have to go crazy, getting the little perfect folds and everything that you would expect to see in the bow. But of course I am going to try to make it look nice. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it's barely moving now. All right, and the longer you leave this sitting after you add the Tylose powder to it, the harder and harder and harder it will become. Even if you wrap it up in some plastic wrap or something, you will find when you come back later, if you add too much, which I tend to do, that it turned into a rock. So I don't use too much fondant when I'm adding Tylose powder to it, because this is all a lost cause at the end of the day. And all that Tylose powder I knocked onto my counter, my glass is going to go in the garbage too. Because I sometimes don't think things out properly. Okay, I need to clean this off. This is messy. Okay. Now to make my bows, I'm just going to cut out some rectangles, pinch them in the center, put my heart in the middle where the little ribbon you would normally, cut out and fold over, and they should be good. I do want to make sure I get the right size, so it's going to cover up all the swag folds and everything else. So I'm going to measure my cake for a second. Make it a little bigger. So the official measurement is this right here. I should probably actually measure it. Okay. 2.5 inches. Or 2.5 inches, or about 7 centimeters. That was for you, Scotland. And probably everyone else in the world, if anyone else is watching outside of America. Because we be crazy over here sometimes. All right. Now, I'm going to leave my bows a little bit on the thicker side. Like, I'm not going to roll them, say like that. I'm not going to roll it too thin, because I am just going to put some indentations in it to make it look a little more bow-y. See, in this end is a little thinner than what I want. So I'm going to go with the thicker. I can hold it up to my shirt. Yeah, there you go. I'm going to go with the thicker end. So I think it'll just work a little better with my big, fat, juicy swags that I got going on. Very uneven. And sometimes if you have it uneven, you can just kind of pull a little bit and make it work. Cheat, I think is the word I'm looking for. All right. So it's a little too big. And since this is going to be a bow, I am going to try to make it as squared off and 90 degree as I can. I'm going to try to make it look a little tidier. All right. So here's where I'm at. I don't know how well this is going to work. I might have to make them a little thinner, but I'm just going to kind of give it a little pinch. There's a bow. Nice and easy, right? Which side do I like better? I think I'm going with the top, this side. Now to make my bow more bow-like, I'm just going to, these sharp corners that I have, I'm just pressing in to round them off. So that's nothing too complicated there. And then I'm going to take, where is it? My veining tool that I have. It's got like the fat sharp end and then the smaller sharp end. And I'm just going to point the tip down against the board and then roll it in and then roll it over the top. So now it looks like a cat paw or something like that. Like that. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So there you go. There's my bow so far. And I kind of don't like how it looks. It looks too much like cat paws. So I'm going to just put an indentation a little bit more from the edge and pull it toward the center. So I feel like that's better. Better. And now I'm going to round it off a little bit more because I feel like I made them too sharp. So when I round things, a lot of times I'll use the back of my thumbnails and just kind of push in, stick it in there as best I can. And now I've got a little bow. Because they are a little bit bigger than I expected, I think I'm going to put that middle piece that I said I lied a minute ago and said I wasn't going to do. I'm going to go ahead and put that in there to hide some of it. Okay, so I just made a thin rectangle, wrapped it around. I'm kind of giving a little squeeze on the sides. A little indentation with the back of my paintbrush. Okay, so a little bow. Not the prettiest, I'm going to say. You know what? I don't like it. I'm doing it over. I don't like it. I don't like it. It just doesn't look right to me. And that's the great thing about this stuff. I just keep redoing it. And in the meantime, everything else is drying over there. So I'm going to try now, instead of rectangle, leaving it oval. I want to see if maybe this will come out a little better. It's too long. So now it's not an oval anymore, but I just shape it and pull it until it is. Okay, let's see how this one comes out. So now that it's more rounded, maybe it'll look a little better to me. Yeah, I feel like this is already better, just being a little more rounded. And I'm going to put my little indentations, but this time I'm going to go a little softer with them. Maybe not quite as harsh. Because maybe that was the issue. I don't know. Still a little cat paw-y, but maybe better. It looks like pasta. There's that, not tortellini. It looks like some kind of pasta to me now. I'm going to be sweating all over these bows now that everything else is just giving me a hard time. And I'm like, oh, whatever, swag, sure, stick it with spaghetti. These bows, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh. Bows are going to be the death of me. And if any of you people have Fortnite players in your home, then you'll know what I'm talking about when I say I'm going to be sweaty over these. Maybe thinner. My husband's trying to offer me help. He's a helper. I don't know if you guys have helper husbands too, but he's a helper. He likes to offer suggestions, and boy, are they welcome. Sometimes he has good ones, no doubt, for sure. But other times, I just tell him, TGP, trust the process. Oh, yeah. All right, now I've got my bow. I don't know how I feel about it still, but I'm not hating it. I'll just keep adding more indentations to it here and there to see if it'll turn into something that I fall in love with. But so far it's okay. It's not the best, not the worst. I'm going to add some of that dark pink that I used for the swags to make the heart. I don't think I have a heart shape this small. I don't. No, I don't have a cutter that small. So I'm just going to use a circle and wing it. So this I'm going to roll out a little thinner, but not so thin that I can't. You know what? I got to add some Tylose to it. It is just too soft and smushy. But this will help stiffen it up. And I know some people too like to make their own fondant and gum paste. More power to them, man. So I have made my own fondant before using marshmallows. The marshmallow recipe is very nice, very tasty. But I discovered, I guess, making marshmallow fondant that the scent, the feel of the powdered sugar and kneading it through the melted marshmallows grosses me out so bad. It just skeeves me out. I can't stand it. So I would rather buy it than make it if I can avoid it. Some people specifically ask for it. But yeah, I don't know why. It's just so gross to me. All right, so I've got my little circle here. I'm going to turn it into a teardrop like that. Flatten it out a little bit because now it's a fat bottomed teardrop. Using the back of my nails. Taking my little vein as in the center as I can. Press in a little bit. And now I've got a heart. I don't know if you could see it, but it's a heart, trust me. It's there. I'm going to separate out that little indentation I made a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to stick it in the middle. Where the heck is my water? Oh, here it is. It's a heart. Okay, so yeah, bow with a little heart on it. And I still don't know if I like it or not. I'm going to hold it up to the cake to see how much I like it or not. Oh no, that's hot garbage. No, I don't like that at all. All right, so I'm going to be making bows the proper way, where you got to roll it out thin and then fold it over, because hot garbage is the term that I'm thinking when I see what I've created. Okay. So sorry about that. This is, again, one of those times where in an edited video, you would never see anything of the last 15 minutes. But hey, it makes for good content, right? All right. So now I'm rolling it thin, and I'm going to just fold it in half. You got to roll it twice as long if you're going to fold it in half in order to still get the right size. And my cut is not even. It's a little pudgy on one end. Okay. So folding it, and then pinching it, and then flipping it. See this? Oh, yes. Yes. Here's where, yes, right? I should have just done this all along. Should have just done it all along, because how long did that take? 20 seconds, really? And that'll look so much better. And now I can do my little indentation if I want it. I'm just going to do one instead of making cat paws. I made fishtails. See, it just looks so much better. Okay. Do I need that middle piece? No, I don't even need the middle piece now. The little heart that I made fits lovely. Let me show you in a second, because I kind of messed up the shape when I pulled it off the first bow. All right. See, there you go, bow with a heart. Much better, much better. All right, I just have to make 4 more of those, so bear with me, guys. And this stuff is getting really stiff because I always add too much to it. I always do. So I'm never feeling like it's enough until it's too much. And honestly, the cake is pretty much almost done, other than the crown, which has to set. You know, I think once I add my bows on, that's going to be it. So like I said, a simple princess cake. I'm going to use my first bow as a template to make sure it's the same thickness. And it is, not thickness, yeah, thickness, height maybe, is what I'm looking for. It's a little fat though. All right, folding it in half again. So back doesn't matter as much. Turn it over, just give a little pinch. Okay, second bow. Gonna use the back of my paintbrush. Jeez, I forgot the word for a second there. Make my 1 indentation on either side. Okay, then I just need my heart, and then bow number 2 is good. And it is definitely allergy season here. So I'm going to make a couple of hearts. I'm going to make all 4 since it's sitting right here in front of me. And I won't have to keep doing it. So I'm just going to make 3 more. Turn them into tears. Push in the center. As evenly as I can. Separate it out a little bit. Okay, heart number 2, check, check. I'm gonna just add it to my bow. All right, so 2 bows down. There's my next one. And if you ever do something like this and you're using something for a reference in size or shape or whatever, always use the first one that you made. Don't, use the next in line and then the next in line, because it turns into the telephone game where it can end up distorted or not the right size anymore. So yeah. All right, I'm gonna make a couple more hearts here. And press it in the top, separate it out. Okay, that's another heart done. My last heart. Okay. And last heart. So now I just need 2 more bows. And I'm also kind of curious too, like I like doing a lot of like anime, kind of, not anime, but like cartoons and video game stuff. So I'm just kind of wondering what you guys like to do. If you like to do more elegant stuff, if you like to do kids stuff. Because I find the pretty stuff is so pretty, but there's just so many of them out there. They're obviously popular for a reason, but I don't know. I think sometimes you can get more creative with the colors and things on the kids' stuff. Okay. I do get tired of doing Paw Patrol. I don't know how popular it is with you guys are. But it feel like it's everywhere. And every once in a while I get to do like a superhero one. And as long as you're not just doing like the stacked tiers with the logo on the front, you know, if you can really get into the character designs of them, those are fun. I like those a lot too. I had a Miles Morales Spider-Man cake that I did. It's on my channel, or yeah, on my channel somewhere. Not too far down if you want to look at the picture anyway. But it was just fun to do. It was a marble icing cake. And I used the acetate sheet to make a wrap around the cake, which I think is fun to do. And then I got to make the Miles Morales character. And I used just a template that I cut out, and then I built layers up to make the character itself. And he came out really cool looking. So by the end of it, you know, you paint some of the colors on, some of the highlights and everything. And it came out really cool. I was really happy with it. But I don't get asked to do things like that too often. And I am just, you know, a hobby baker too. This is too thick. So I feel like if you were in an actual bakery, I wonder how much of the creative stuff like that you do, and how much of it would just be, you know, a gold cake or something with macarons on it or something. And that's another thing too. Like, I've learned so much. Like, I learned that macarons are not macaroons. And now when people mess it up, I'm like, oh, that's not what they are. You don't even know. Why are you talking? It does turn you snobby. And I'll go to birthday parties and things now. And sometimes people will have Halloween and the Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah, those are fun to do. Those are fun. The Tim Burton stuff is fun. He has such creative character design and set designs and everything that his are fun to do. I like those a lot. And for a while there, I was getting asked to do baby shower Nightmare Before Christmases. I don't know if you guys have ever had that request come up, but a pregnant Sally or coming up with a new character of a baby hybrid of the two of them in a stroller or something like that. Those are fun. And there's more than just black and white. They got the purples and the greens and everything in there. He's got cool characters. And I have a bunch of those on my channel too that I've done. They were a long time ago though. It seems like things like that, like they kind of come and go. I don't know if they are for you guys as well. But another thing I'm really, really into right now is the cake top forward design. I don't know if you've done that yet, or if any of you have done it yet. But the cake top forward, if you don't know, which you probably do, you know, you've got your, I don't even have a cake pan out, but you got your cake and you just cut off the bottom of it a little bit and then you stand it up. I think that is so cool. And I think it could be carried so much further than what you see on Pinterest, where they're all the perfect little dome with a little sprig of flowers going up the side and maybe a little stenciled buttercream on it. It's like very, very pretty. But you could do so much more with that. And I'm looking at it. And what I really want to try is, I don't know if you know the game Poppy Playtime. Yeah. Yep. Some of the Star Wars stuff is really good. Yes. I've done the what's his name? The Mandalorian guy's helmet. He's not Boba Fett, but yeah, just Mandalorian. Yeah, that's right. And I've done the Baby Yoda, and Baby Yoda can go scratch as far as I'm concerned, but the helmet was fun to do. But I don't even remember what I was saying. Oh, about the cake top forward. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know, but there's a video game out there called Poppy's Playtime, or Poppy Playtime, excuse me. And it's a horror video game, a lot like Five Nights at Freddy's with jump scares and stuff. And there's one character, their second season just released, and there's this one character in it. And she's, I don't know her name. She's like a spider, like a cartoony spider. And she looks like she'd be so cool to do as a cake top forward because her head is just perfectly round. And she's got these big spirals of color hair coming up. I just think she would look so cool as something like that, which again, not a lot of demand for. Don't have too many kids wanting a Poppy Playtime cake top forward cake. This is getting a little dry, so I'm just using some water to stick the edges on because I added too much Tyler's powder to it. Now the Darth Maul cake that you did, Kelly, did you just do the head or like the whole thing, or was it a scene? Because I've seen some really cool ones of Darth Maul where they just did his head, and with the colors of the red and the black and the patterns of it, came out really, really neat. All right, down to my last bow, guys. We're in the home stretch here. And like I said, I appreciate you riding along with me. Okay. 2 more indentations. Press it down in the middle a little because it's sticking up so far. I'm gonna stick my heart on. My heart on my bow. Alrighty. Okay, I have 4 bows now, and they actually look like bows and not cat feet or anything like that, or hot garbage. So I'm gonna bring my cake out, stick my bows on, and then, yeah, the crown is gonna have to wait, so you're not gonna see that come out. Found a pick on Pinterest, head on top of a chocolate cake. Yeah, see? There's nothing wrong with copying an idea. That's how you get inspired. I did a Sailor Moon cake not too long ago, and literally if you search Sailor Moon cake, you're gonna see the same darn thing over and over with her silhouette and a moon, and it's all in pink, and there's a couple little rosettes. And yeah, I made that cake and it came out really nice. But I also added a gum paste rose on the cake plate for the tuxedo mask character, and I made a silhouette of the cat Luna on the side. So kind of made it my own, but total copy. And it was beautiful. It's like one of my favorites now. Okay. All right. Here we go. I think we're stable. Yeah, we're stable enough. I can take these out. And if it falls off, you can laugh at me. Yeah, this one's an ugly one. It's going in the, it's very happy, technically. Looks like Poppy Playtime's mouth. Okay. Now I'm just gonna stick my bows in between here. Let my crown dry, and when I put it on, I'll probably make it into like a little short or something so you guys can see it all come together. But we are just about there, so yeah. Okay, I need my water. And I'm painting all over the back of it, my bow, because you see it's sunken in here, it sticks out here. I don't know how much is going to touch where, so I want it to all be as good as possible. Okay, you know what? I gotta find my front, find my prettiest bow, which is not this one, so I will stick you over here. And then calling it all good. I am going to press down into the center a little bit. Hopefully I didn't misshapen the heart too much. Nope, it's okay. Okay, because I do have that little gap, or big gap, depending on how you look at it. Now my nicest bow, I think, is this one. So I'm going to put that in the very front, because I've got to let your good stuff shine and your bad stuff go hide in the corner where it belongs. Okay, make sure it's not upside down. That helps too. And just pressing it in, hopefully not losing my shape too much. Okay, pretty, right? Like princess cakes are pretty. They're just nothing special to me. Some people like them more than I do, and that's good. Makes the world go round. You can't see it, but my husband's over in the corner doing stretches. because he's so tired from standing for so long. Poor thing. How does he do it? Meanwhile, I'm probably going to have to go like soak in the tub after this. I have some issues going on with my hips that make standing for a while hurt. So poor baby, right? But he is a help. He is a help. I tease, but he is a help. All right, I got one more, guys. And then we're calling it good. And if you do have any, oh, you're welcome. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I really do appreciate you guys taking the time to spend with me. It makes it more fun, like I said. Okay, so if you guys do have any last minute questions or anything for me, now's your chance. The window is closing, however. This one little swag right here is sticking up too far, so I'm going to trim it down carefully with my knife. Okay. Ooh, I made it ugly. If you ever make it ugly, brush it with a little bit of water. Get that area nice and wet. And then get a rounded tool, kind of like this, and just kind of brush over it, and it will spread the fondant and smooth it out at least. Might still be a little ugly, but now it's more like homely rather than ugly. But yeah, okay, there you go. Princess cake. That's it. Oh, there goes the bow. Now I have to make a new bow. Oh well, that one's in the garbage. We'll just look at it from this way. There. But thanks for watching with me, guys. I appreciate it. If you have any questions for me, you can reach me through any of this avenues. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm blah, blah, blah. All those, or you can just message me here. And I will let you know how it looks when I put the crown on, when it's all done. So thank you very much for watching, and have a good evening. Goodbye.